What if Grievous was Force-sensitive and trained by Dooku? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Obi-Wan Kenobi watches a clone trooper rise into the air. No cable, no tractor beam, just invisible fingers wrapped around his throat. The trooper claws at nothing. His boots kick uselessly, then his neck snaps. General Grievous laughs. Lightning crackles between his metal fingers. This is impossible. Grievous cannot use the Force. He is a machine, a cyborg, a monster of metal and hate, but not this. Never this. Yet Obi-Wan feels it. Cold, hungry, impossibly powerful. A dark side presence radiating from the skeletal general like heat from a sun. More clones rise. 10, 20. 30 soldiers lifted by invisible hands and hurled against the rocks. Their armor shatters on impact. Their screams fill the comms before cutting to static. Obi-Wan anchors himself in the Force, barely keeping his feet as the wave of telekinetic energy washes over him. Grievous descends from the destroyed tank, his 4 lightsabers igniting one by one. But it is his eyes that terrify Obi-Wan most. Yellow, burning, touched by the dark side in a way that should be impossible for any droid. You look surprised, Jedi? Grievous's vocabulary drips with contempt. Did you think you were the only ones who could wield this power? Did you think the Force belonged to you? He raises his hand. Obi-Wan's throat tightens. He cannot breathe. He cannot move. He can only watch as Grievous advances, death incarnate wrapped in durasteel and hatred. How did this happen? How did the galaxy's most feared cyborg general become something even worse? The answer begins months earlier, in the shadows of Sereno, in a training session that would change everything. The fortress on Sereno is quiet tonight. Count Dooku stands in his private training chamber, watching as General Grievous moves through lightsaber forms with mechanical precision. The cyborg's 4 arms blur through the air, each blade catching the dim light as it arcs and spins. There is no denying Grievous's skill. His reflexes are beyond anything organic. His strength is immense. His hatred for the Jedi burns with an intensity that even Dooku finds impressive. And yet, something is missing. Grievous fights like a machine, albeit a supremely deadly one. He mimics the forms he has learned, executes them flawlessly, but there is no connection to anything deeper, or so Dooku has always believed. Enough, Dooku says, raising his hand. Grievous freezes mid-strike, all 4 blades humming in the stillness. His eyes fix on his master with barely concealed frustration. I was not finished. You were repeating yourself. There is no value in perfecting emotion you have already mastered. What I need from you is adaptation, evolution. Grievous deactivates his lightsabers and straightens to his full height, towering over the elderly Count. You speak as though I am lacking. You are. There is a ceiling to what you can achieve with technique alone. The Jedi you face will always have an advantage you cannot match. Grievous's claws tighten into fists. The Force. Yes. Dooku turns away, walking toward the observation window that overlooks the moonlit gardens below. You hate them for it, don't you? For that gift they possess and you do not. More than you can possibly understand. Dooku pauses. He has sensed something in recent sessions. Subtle fluctuations in the Force whenever Grievous's rage peaks. Anomalies that should not exist. He had dismissed them initially, assuming they were merely echoes of his own power interacting with the charged atmosphere of their training. But the patterns have grown more distinct, more pronounced. He decides to test his theory. Turn and face me, Dooku commands. Grievous complies, confusion evident in his posture. Dooku raises his hand and sends a bolt of Force lightning directly at the general's chest. The attack is measured, controlled, meant to cause pain, but not permanent damage. Grievous staggers backward, his vocabulator releasing a distorted howl of agony. But what happens next makes Dooku's eyes widen. As the lightning courses through his cybernetic frame, Grievous does not simply endure it. He pushes back. A ripple of invisible energy explodes outward from the cyborg, shattering the training droids along the wall and cracking the stone floor beneath his feet. Dooku is forced to take a step back, his robes billowing from the shockwave. The lightning dissipates. Grievous drops to one knee, his breathing ragged, his eyes burning with confusion and rage. What was that? Dooku stares at him for a long moment, his mind racing through the implications. That, he says slowly, was the Force. Grievous looks up at him, uncomprehending. That is impossible. I have no connection to such things. The Jedi would have sensed it. I would have known. And yet the evidence is undeniable. Dooku approaches him, circling like a predator, examining unexpected prey. Your transformation, the trauma of what was done to your body, it appears to have awakened something dormant within you. Perhaps the midi-chlorians in your remaining organic tissue were concentrated by the process. Perhaps your hatred is so pure that it has torn a hole in the fabric of the Force itself. The cause matters less than the result. But I am not a Sith. I am not even a failed Jedi. I am nothing but a weapon. Dooku kneels before him, meeting his gaze directly. You are far more than that now. With proper training, you could become something the galaxy has never seen. A fusion of machine and dark side. A predator that even the Jedi Council would fear. Grievous's eyes narrow. And you would train me in this? Yes. But understand this clearly. What I am offering you must remain secret. Not even my own master can know of your potential. If he learned of it, he would see you as a threat and have you destroyed. Your master? Grievous asks. Sidious, Dooku confirms. The true power behind the separatist movement. He rules from the shadows, and he does not tolerate rivals. But if you develop your abilities in secret, if you grow strong enough before he discovers the truth, then perhaps one day you will answer to no one. The offer hangs in the air between them. Grievous considers it, his mechanical mind calculating the risks and rewards. He has always known he was a tool, a weapon wielded by others. The Kaleesh warlords who first sent him to war, the intergalactic banking clan that financed his transformation, Dooku and his mysterious master who direct his campaigns. For the first time, someone is offering him the chance to become something more, to seize power for himself rather than serving as an instrument of someone else's ambition. I accept, Grievous says. But know this, Count. If you are deceiving me, if this is some test or trap, I will tear you apart with my bare hands. Dooku smiles, a cold expression that does not reach his eyes. I would expect nothing less. Now, let us begin. The training starts that very night. Dooku takes Grievous to a hidden chamber beneath his fortress, a place shielded from detection by layers of dark side energy. Here, he explains, they can work without fear of Sidious sensing their activities. The first lessons are frustrating for Grievous. He has no frame of reference for what Dooku describes. The Force is an abstract concept to him, something the Jedi wield like a supernatural weapon. He cannot feel it the way Dooku does, cannot sense its currents and eddies. But he can feel his own rage. And that, Dooku tells him, is the key. The dark side does not require meditation or spiritual enlightenment. It requires passion, hatred, fear, suffering. You have endured more suffering than most beings could survive. That pain has not diminished with your transformation. If anything, it has intensified. Every moment of your existence is agony, is it not? Grievous does not answer, but his silence is confirmation enough. Good, Dooku continues. Do not suppress that pain. Embrace it. Let it fill every circuit and synapse of your being. The dark side feeds on such emotions. It will answer your call if you simply open yourself to it. For weeks, Grievous struggles. His cybernetic enhancements make connecting to the living force extraordinarily difficult. The machinery that keeps him alive also creates a kind of static, a barrier between his consciousness and the cosmic energy that surrounds all things. But Dooku is patient, and Grievous is determined. He spends hours in the hidden chamber, focusing on his hatred for the Jedi. He relives the battle where they destroyed his people. He remembers the agony of his transformation, the feeling of his organic body being carved away piece by piece. He dwells on every humiliation, every failure, every moment of powerlessness. And slowly, something begins to stir. It starts as a faint pressure behind his eyes, a subtle vibration in the remnants of his organic brain. Then it grows stronger, spreading through his neural pathways like fire. The first time Grievous successfully moves an object with his mind, he feels a rush of exhilaration unlike anything since his days as a warlord. It is a small thing, merely a training remote lifted a few inches off the ground. But it represents something profound. He is no longer bound by the limitations of his mechanical form. He has touched something greater, something that even the Jedi would have to respect. Excellent, Dooku observes from the shadows. You learn quickly, but this is merely the beginning. Moving objects is the simplest application of the Force. What I will teach you next is far more powerful and far more dangerous. The months that follow transform Grievous in ways even he does not fully understand. Dooku begins with the fundamentals, teaching Grievous to feel the Force flowing around him rather than simply grasping at it with brute mental strength. The lessons are often frustrating. Grievous has spent his entire life as a warrior, solving problems through direct action and overwhelming force. The subtlety required for Force manipulation does not come naturally to him. But Dooku is patient in his own calculating way. He understands that Grievous learns best through combat applications, so he frames each lesson in terms of battlefield advantage. When Grievous struggles to lift objects with his mind, Dooku describes it as disarming opponents without touching them. When Grievous cannot grasp the concept of Force sense, Dooku explains it as predicting enemy movements before they happen. Gradually, the lessons begin to take hold. The first major breakthrough comes when Dooku teaches him to channel his hatred into telekinetic attacks. Waves of crushing force that can shatter bone and buckle durasteel. This aligns perfectly with Grievous's nature. He has spent years nursing his rage against the Jedi, letting it simmer beneath the surface of his mechanical exterior. Now he learns to unleash that rage in devastating pulses of invisible energy. During one training session, he releases so much power that the walls of the hidden chamber crack from the pressure. Dooku observes with satisfaction, knowing that raw strength can be refined over time. Next comes the art of Force choke. Grievous takes to this technique with disturbing enthusiasm. He learns to reach out with his mind and wrap invisible fingers around a target's throat, feeling their terror through the Force as their windpipes collapse. Dooku provides him with prisoners to practice on, captured enemy soldiers and condemned criminals who serve as living training dummies. Grievous shows no hesitation in ending their lives. If anything, he seems to relish the intimate nature of the killing, the way he can feel their final moments of consciousness fade through the dark side connection. Most difficult of all, he learns to generate lightning. The technique nearly destroys him the first time he attempts it. Dooku explains the theory. Force. Lightning is raw, dark side energy channeled through the body and expelled through the fingertips. It requires intense concentration and absolute commitment to the dark side. Grievous possesses both, but his cybernetic body creates complications. The energy backfires through his systems, overloading circuits and frying components. He collapses in a shower of sparks, his vocabulary screaming static as his diagnostics fail one by one. It takes a week to repair the damage. During that time, Grievous broods in silence, analyzing what went wrong. He realizes that his body is rejecting the energy because his systems are designed to ground electrical surges rather than conduct them. He will need to modify himself if he wants to master this technique. Working in secret, Grievous reconfigures his internal architecture. He creates new pathways specifically designed to channel force lightning, routing the energy around his vital components and out through specially modified fingernails. The process is painful and dangerous, but Grievous has never let pain stop him from pursuing power. The next attempt goes differently. He feels the dark side energy building within him, crackling along his neural pathways and gathering in his chest. This time, instead of fighting against his cybernetic nature, he works with it. The energy flows through his modified systems and erupts from his hands in a sustained bolt of brilliant blue-white power. The training target explodes in a shower of molten metal. Grievous laughs, the sound rattling through his damaged vocabulary. The satisfaction is immense. "You are not elegant," Dooku observes, watching the charred remains of the target droid smoke on the floor. "Your technique lacks the refinement of a true Sith. But what you lack in grace, you compensate for with raw power. The Jedi will not know how to counter you. They have never faced anything like what you are becoming." What am I becoming? A living weapon, a fusion of technology and dark side that exists outside their understanding. When you face them on the battlefield, their precognition will falter, their defenses will crumble, and their order will learn to fear the name Grievous as they have never feared anything before. The Clone Wars erupt across the galaxy, and General Grievous takes his place at the head of the Separatist military. But the Grievous who leads the droid armies is not the same being the galaxy expects. He is something far more dangerous. In the early campaigns, Grievous restrains himself. He uses only his lightsaber skills, his tactical genius, his mechanical enhancements. He wants the Jedi to underestimate him. He wants them to believe they understand what they are facing. But all the while, his power grows in secret. He practices in the quiet moments between battles, honing his abilities until they become as natural as breathing once was. The first time he reveals his true nature, it is deliberate, calculated for maximum psychological impact. The Ba'ath Fury battle takes place on Nadium, a small agricultural world that serves as a Republic supply depot. The Jedi Council has dispatched Master Agan Kolar and his Padawan to defend the planet, confident that they can hold until reinforcements arrive. They are wrong. The Republic forces have established a defensive perimeter around the main supply complex, using the rolling hills and deep irrigation trenches as natural fortifications. Clone troopers dig in along the ridgeline, their artillery pieces zeroed in on the approach corridors. It is a strong position, one that should be able to hold against a frontal assault for hours, if not days. But Grievous has no intention of launching a frontal assault. His initial moves are orthodox enough to lull the defenders into a false sense of security. Droid battalions probe the flanks, testing the Republic lines for weaknesses. Spider droids provide fire support from the rear, their laser cannons creating a steady barrage that keeps the clones pinned in their trenches. Master Kolar coordinates the defense with professional efficiency, his presence bolstering the morale of troops who have heard terrifying stories about the cyborg general. Then Grievous lands at the head of a massive droid reinforcement wave, and the character of the battle changes entirely. He strides through the carnage with an air of complete confidence, his Magna Guards flanking him on either side. Clone troopers who catch sight of him hesitate for a critical moment, remembering the recordings they have seen of his previous butchery. That hesitation costs them dearly as the droid forces press their advantage. Master Kolar sees the general approaching and breaks away from the main battle, determined to face the Separatist commander himself. If he can eliminate Grievous, the entire campaign might turn in their favor. His purple blade ignites with a snap hiss, casting long shadows across the scarred battlefield. "Your reign of terror ends today, General," Kolar declares, raising his lightsaber. Grievous regards him with those cold, reptilian eyes. "You Jedi are so predictable, always so confident in your superiority. Let me show you how misplaced that confidence is." He ignites all 4 of his lightsabers and charges forward. The duel is brutal from the first exchange. Kolar is an excellent swordsman, his Juyo form aggressive and unpredictable. He attacks with a fury that would overwhelm most opponents, his blade seeking the gaps in Grievous's defenses. But Grievous matches him strike for strike, his mechanical arms whirling in patterns that no organic being could replicate. 4 lightsabers move in a deadly dance, creating a barrier of plasma that seems impenetrable. They fight through the burning wreckage of the depot, their blades casting flickering shadows across the battlefield. Kolar begins to sense that something is wrong. Grievous is not fighting like any opponent he has faced before. There is a precision to his movements that goes beyond mechanical efficiency. It is almost as if he can predict Kolar's attacks before they happen, adjusting his stance milliseconds before the blows land. The Force is warning the Jedi Master that something is terribly wrong, but he cannot understand the nature of the threat. Kolar presses his attack, trying to overwhelm Grievous with sheer aggression. He leaps over a collapsed wall, bringing his blade down in a powerful overhead strike. Grievous catches the attack on 2 of his lightsabers and counters with the other 2, forcing Kolar to spin away. They trade blows at a furious pace, neither able to gain a decisive advantage. Sweat beads on Kolar's forehead despite the cool evening air. He is expending tremendous energy just to keep pace with his mechanical opponent. Then Grievous raises one hand, and Kolar feels an invisible force slam into his chest. He flies backward, crashing through a collapsed wall and landing hard on the rubble-strewn ground. For a moment, he cannot comprehend what has happened. A telekinetic attack? From Grievous? That is impossible. The general cannot use the Force. He is a machine, a cyborg warrior with no connection to the cosmic energy that binds all living things. But as Kolar struggles to his feet, his ribs aching from the impact, he sees Grievous advancing on him. Dark energy crackles between his metallic fingers, visible even in the fading light. The air around the general seems to warp and twist, heavy with a malevolent presence that Kolar can feel pressing against his mind. How? Kolar gasps. You cannot. You are not. Grievous laughs, that horrible mechanical rattle filling the air. Your order has grown complacent. You assume you understand the nature of power. But power comes in many forms, and I have claimed a form you never thought possible. He unleashes a torrent of lightning directly at the Jedi Master. Kolar raises his lightsaber, catching the attack on his blade. But Grievous pours more power into the assault, his cybernetic systems straining with the effort. Kolar feels himself being pushed backward, his arms shaking as he struggles to maintain his defense. He reaches out through the Force, calling for help, trying to warn his Padawan. But Grievous senses the attempt and redoubles his attack. The lightning breaks through Kolar's guard and engulfs him. His screams echo across the battlefield, audible even over the sounds of combat. When the attack finally ends, Kolar collapses to the ground, his robe smoking, his skin blackened and blistered. He is still alive, barely, but completely at Grievous's mercy. Grievous approaches and looks down at him with something approaching satisfaction. You were supposed to be a master of the Jedi Order, one of the greatest warriors in the galaxy, and yet you fall before me like all the rest. He raises his lightsaber for the killing blow, but then pauses. Actually, I think I will let you live. For now. I want you to return to Coruscant. I want you to tell your precious council what you have witnessed here today. I want them to know what is coming for them. He kicks Kolar aside and turns to finish the battle, leaving the broken Jedi Master to contemplate the horror of what he has experienced. The news of Grievous's Force abilities spreads through the Jedi Order like wildfire. At first, many refused to believe it. Surely Kolar was mistaken. Perhaps he encountered some unknown dark side artifact or weapon. The idea that Grievous himself could wield the Force is simply too disturbing to accept. But then reports begin coming in from other battlefronts. Jedi survivors describe telekinetic attacks, Force lightning, displays of power that could not possibly come from a mere droid general. The Council convenes an emergency session to address the crisis. This changes everything, Mace Windu declares, his voice heavy with concern. Grievous was already one of the most dangerous threats we faced. If he has somehow gained access to the Force, we must reevaluate our entire strategy. But how is this possible? Ki-Adi-Mundi asks. His transformation into a cyborg should have severed any connection to the Force he might have possessed. The machinery alone would create interference beyond anything a living being could compensate for. Perhaps that is precisely why we never sensed his potential, Yoda observes, his eyes troubled. Clouded by the dark side, our perception has been hidden in plain sight. This threat was. And if Dooku has trained him, more dangerous than any of us imagined, Grievous may be. The Council dispatches their best to assess the threat directly. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker are tasked with engaging Grievous and determining the true extent of his abilities. They intercept him on Faline, where the general is overseeing the conquest of a Republic shipyard. The confrontation that follows will become legendary. Grievous sees them coming. He can feel their presence through the Force now, two brilliant lights approaching through the darkness of his perception. Kenobi is calm and controlled, his signature steady and disciplined. Skywalker burns with barely contained intensity, his power immense but volatile. Together, they represent the pinnacle of what the Jedi Order can field. Grievous could not ask for better opponents to test himself against. He meets them in the shipyard's main hangar, surrounded by the carcasses of half-constructed warships. His Magna Guards form a perimeter, but he waves them back. This fight, he will handle personally. Skywalker, Grievous rasps, his vocabulary dripping with contempt. And Kenobi. The Council sends their favorites to deal with me. I should be flattered. We are here to end your campaign of terror, Grievous. Obi-Wan replies, his lightsaber igniting with its familiar blue glow. Surrender now, and I promise you will face justice, not execution. Grievous laughs. Justice? From the Republic? From the Jedi? You destroyed my people, Kenobi. You burned my world. There is no justice you could offer that would satisfy what I am owed. Anakin ignites his own blade, impatient with the verbal sparring. "I've heard enough. Let's finish this." He charges forward, and the battle begins. Obi-Wan hangs back initially, watching and analyzing as Anakin engages Grievous directly. He wants to observe the general's new abilities, to understand what they are truly facing. What he sees chills him to the bone. Grievous is not simply a mechanical warrior anymore. His movements are guided by the Force, enhanced by dark side power that flows through his cybernetic systems like current through a wire. He anticipates Anakin's attacks before they come, countering with a precision that goes beyond anything his programming should allow. And then there is the raw power. When Anakin presses too close, Grievous releases a telekinetic burst that sends the young Jedi flying across the hangar. Anakin crashes into a support strut, the metal buckling around him from the impact. Obi-Wan moves immediately to support his former apprentice, his blade flashing as he interposes himself between Anakin and the advancing general. "Impressive," Grievous observes. "Your student has grown since our last encounter. But not enough. Never enough. You Jedi never seem to understand that your order is a relic. Your time is ending, and I will be the one to usher in the new age." The duel that follows pushes both Jedi to their absolute limits. Grievous wields all 4 of his lightsabers along with his Force abilities, creating an attack pattern that is nearly impossible to counter. One moment he is pressing them with overwhelming physical aggression, his blades whirling in patterns that seem to come from every direction at once. The next, he is hurling debris at them with the Force, or trying to choke the life from their bodies with invisible hands. Obi-Wan settles into Soresu, his defensive form allowing him to weather the storm of attacks while looking for an opening. His blade moves in tight, economical arcs, deflecting Grievous's strikes with minimal motion. But the constant barrage of Force attacks makes maintaining his defense extraordinarily difficult. He has to split his concentration between blocking physical strikes and resisting telekinetic assaults, a challenge that would exhaust any Jedi. Anakin takes a more aggressive approach, using his own substantial power to counter Grievous's telekinetic assaults. When the general tries to lift him with the Force, Anakin pushes back with equal strength. When debris comes flying toward him, he deflects it with his mind or cuts it apart with his blade. His fighting style is relentless, pressing Grievous with the full fury of his combat abilities. Together, they begin to push the general back. Obi-Wan slides into gaps in Grievous's defense, his blade finding opportunities that would be invisible to lesser warriors. Anakin hammers at the general with powerful overhead strikes, each blow forcing Grievous to commit more of his attention. Their teamwork is seamless, developed over years of fighting side by side. They cover each other's weaknesses and amplify each other's strengths. For a moment, it seems like they might actually overwhelm him. Grievous staggers under a particularly powerful combination, his systems straining to keep pace with the 2 Jedi. His lightsabers move a fraction of a second slower than before. His Force attacks come less frequently as he dedicates more of his concentration to simple survival. Then Grievous reveals another surprise. He has been holding back, conserving his strength while testing the limits of his opponents. Now he draws on the dark side more deeply than before, channeling it through his cybernetic systems until the air around him crackles with power. The temperature drops. The shadows seem to deepen. A foul stench of ozone and burning circuits fills the air. He releases it all in a single devastating attack, a wave of Force energy that picks up both Jedi and hurls them against the far wall of the hangar. Obi-Wan feels ribs crack from the impact, a sharp pain lancing through his side as he crumples to the deck. Anakin gasps for breath, the wind knocked completely out of him, spots dancing before his eyes. Grievous advances on them, his lightsaber spinning, his eyes glowing with dark side energy. The power radiating from him is palpable, a physical pressure that weighs on the injured Jedi. Did you truly believe you could defeat me? I am no longer the limited creature you once faced. I have transcended the boundaries of flesh and machine alike. I have become something new, something greater, the next evolution of what a warrior can be. He raises his hand to deliver the killing blow, dark energy gathering around his fingers. Anakin struggles to rise, but his body refuses to obey. Obi-Wan tries to summon the Force for a desperate defense, but his concentration is shattered by the pain in his ribs. They are completely at Grievous's mercy. But warning klaxons begin to sound throughout the shipyard. Red lights flash along the corridors as automated defense systems detect incoming threats. Grievous's tactical display informs him that Republic reinforcements have entered the system far ahead of schedule. Someone must have leaked his location. Worse, the approaching fleet includes 2 Venator-class Star Destroyers carrying additional Jedi. Cursing in his native Kalish language, Grievous lowers his hand. The moment of triumph slips away, replaced by the cold reality of tactical necessity. Even with his newfound powers, he cannot fight an entire fleet single-handed. Not yet. It seems we will have to continue this another time. But remember what you have felt here today. Remember how helpless you were before me. And know that this is merely the beginning. He retreats into the depths of the shipyard, his Magna Guards covering his escape. Within minutes, his personal shuttle breaks through the Republic blockade and vanishes into hyperspace, leaving the battered Jedi to contemplate their defeat. On Coruscant, the Jedi Council receives Obi-Wan's report with grim faces. The threat is even worse than we feared, Obi-Wan concludes. Grievous is not merely Force-sensitive. He has been trained in the dark side, likely by Dooku himself. His power is substantial and growing. If we do not find a way to counter him soon, he will become unstoppable. Mace Windu shakes his head slowly. This complicates everything. We are already stretched thin by the war. Our most powerful Jedi are needed on multiple fronts. Dedicating the resources necessary to hunt Grievous would leave other theaters dangerously exposed. Yet ignore him we cannot. Yoda counters. A threat to the very order itself he represents. With each Jedi he kills, stronger he becomes. With each victory, more recruits to the separatist cause he brings. A cancer he is. Cut out he must be. Then we hunt him, Anakin declares, his jaws set with determination. Obi-Wan and I will track him down. We know his tactics now. We know his capabilities. Next time, we will be ready. Yoda regards him with ancient, knowing eyes. Confidence you have, young Skywalker. But dangerous overconfidence is. Face him again, you will. But prepared, you must be. For more than just battle, I sense this confrontation requires. What none of them know is that another player has entered the game. In the shadows of the Senate building, Darth Sidious seethes with barely contained rage. His network of spies has finally confirmed what he long suspected. Grievous possesses Force sensitivity, and Dooku has been secretly training him for months. This is an unforgivable betrayal. The rule of 2 exists for a reason. There can only be one master and one apprentice. By cultivating Grievous's abilities, Dooku has violated the most fundamental principle of the Sith Order. He has created a potential rival, a threat to the carefully constructed plans that Sidious has spent decades building. But Sidious is nothing if not adaptive. As he contemplates the situation, his mind races through the possible responses. He could confront Dooku directly, demand the elimination of Grievous, and punish his apprentice for this transgression. But that would tip his hand, reveal that his surveillance is more extensive than Dooku realizes. It might push Dooku into open rebellion before Sidious is ready to dispose of him. Alternatively, he could use this development to his advantage. Grievous is a powerful tool, one that could prove useful in the right circumstances. And his existence creates tension between him and Dooku, tension that Sidious might exploit when the time comes to replace his current apprentice. Yes, Sidious decides. He will allow this to play out for now. He will watch and wait, letting Grievous grow stronger while subtly maneuvering him into conflicts that will test his true worth. If the cyborg survives, he might prove a useful instrument. If he falls, the problem solves itself. Either way, Sidious remains in control. He always remains in control. The war continues, and Grievous becomes increasingly central to the Separatist strategy. His victories mount with terrifying regularity. Planets fall to his campaigns not just through military might, but through the sheer terror his presence inspires. Soldiers who once fought bravely against droid armies break and flee when they learn that Grievous himself is leading the assault. The reputation spreads. Grievous the Unstoppable. Grievous the Jedi Killer. Grievous the dark side monster that even the Force cannot contain. Holovids of his battles circulate through the underground networks, and watched with horrified fascination by billions. In these recordings, soldiers can see the impossible made real. A cyborg general wielding the Force like a weapon, crushing clone troopers with invisible hands, deflecting blaster bolts with the power of his mind. The psychological impact is devastating. Recruitment for the Grand Army of the Republic slows as potential volunteers reconsider the wisdom of facing such a creature. Within the Separatist military, Grievous's reputation takes on an almost mythical quality. Droid commanders, limited though their programming may be, recognize that serving under the general virtually guarantees victory. Organic officers compete for positions in his fleet, knowing that association with Grievous will advance their careers. Even the war profiteers who fund the Confederacy begin to view him as their most valuable asset, worth any investment necessary to keep him fighting. But as his power grows, so does his ambition. Dooku notices the change during their increasingly rare training sessions. There is a new edge to Grievous's manner, a barely concealed contempt that was not present before. The cyborg general no longer defers to him as readily. He questions orders, challenges strategy decisions, and sometimes seems to regard Dooku as more of an obstacle than a mentor. The dynamic of their relationship has shifted, and not in Dooku's favor. "You seem distracted, General," Dooku observes during one such session. "Your form is slipping." Grievous snorts, a strange mechanical sound that conveys irritation. "My form is more than adequate to deal with any Jedi. I have proven that repeatedly on the battlefield. It is adequate against the Jedi you have faced so far. But the Order has greater warriors than those you have encountered. Mace Windu, Yoda himself. If you become overconfident, they will exploit that weakness. Let them try. I grow stronger with every battle. The dark side flows through me more easily now than ever before. Soon, not even the greatest Jedi Master will be able to stand against me." Dooku's eyes narrow. There is something else in Grievous's words, an implication that extends beyond mere confidence in his combat abilities, a suggestion that his ambitions reach beyond simple victory on the battlefield. "I hope you remember who gave you this power, General. Without my training, you would still be nothing more than a glorified droid." Grievous turns to face him, and for a moment, Dooku sees something genuinely dangerous in those mechanical eyes. The hatred that burns there is no longer directed solely at the Jedi. It encompasses everyone who has ever tried to control or diminish him. And I hope you remember that I am no one's servant. Not anymore. The tension between them grows with each passing week. Dooku begins to suspect that Grievous knows, or at least suspects, that Sidious has been manipulating events to put him in dangerous situations. Several of the General's recent assignments have been virtual suicide missions, operations where he was expected to fail. That he has survived and triumphed only adds to his reputation, but also to his paranoia. He has started conducting his own intelligence operations, trying to uncover the source of the attempts on his life. Someone wants me dead. Grievous confronts Dooku one night in his private quarters on Sereno. The chamber is cold and dark, lit only by the faint glow of holographic star maps. Someone with the authority to direct military operations. Someone who sees me as a threat rather than an asset. Dooku considers denying it, but he knows Grievous is too intelligent to be fooled by transparent lies. The Jedi are intensifying their efforts to eliminate you. It is only natural that our command structure would place you in positions where you can be tested. This is not the Jedi. This comes from within our own ranks. Grievous steps closer, his height allowing him to loom over the elderly Count. From your mysterious master, perhaps. The one you think I don't know about. The one who believes he controls everything from the shadows. Dooku stiffens, genuinely alarmed now. You overstep yourself, General. I only speak what we both know to be true. Your Sidious sees me as a rival. He wants me removed before I become too powerful to eliminate. The question is whether you will help him or stand with me. I serve the Sith Order. Dooku replies carefully, his voice measured but betraying an undercurrent of fear. My loyalty is to our cause and to my master. Whatever decisions are made regarding your status are not mine to question. Grievous stares at him for a long moment, reading the fear behind Dooku's measured words. He can feel the old man's pulse quickening through the Force, can sense the conflict in his mind. Dooku is afraid, not just of Sidious, but of Grievous himself. That fear is satisfying. Then we have nothing more to discuss. You have made your choice. Now I will make mine. Grievous begins operating more independently, taking initiatives without authorization, pursuing his own agenda alongside the official Separatist campaign. He starts building a personal power base, cultivating loyalty among certain droid commanders and even some organic officers who are drawn to his strength and charisma. He also intensifies his hunt for Jedi, but now with a specific purpose. Each lightsaber he claims, each Jedi he defeats, adds to his collection and his power. He can feel himself growing stronger in the dark side, feeding on the death and suffering he causes. But more importantly, he is sending a message. He is demonstrating that he is more than just a tool to be used and discarded. He is a force to be reckoned with in his own right. The confrontation comes on Utapau. Obi-Wan Kenobi has tracked Grievous to the sinkhole planet, intending to end the cyborg general once and for all. The intelligence is solid this time, confirmed by multiple sources and corroborated by Jedi seers who have glimpsed the future through the Force. Grievous is here, in the massive sinkholes that honeycomb the planet's surface, coordinating what remains of the Separatist resistance. Obi-Wan descends into the largest sinkhole on the back of a Varactyl named Boga, a noble creature whose loyalty has been tested in many battles. The descent takes nearly an hour, the light growing dimmer as they spiral down into the depths. When they finally reach the bottom, Obi-Wan dismounts and proceeds on foot, his senses extended through the Force. He can feel Grievous's presence now, a cold spot in the cosmic energy that surrounds all living things. But there is something different about it. The hatred is still there, the burning rage against everything the Jedi represent. But beneath it, Obi-Wan senses something else. Resignation, perhaps, or acceptance, as if Grievous has made peace with something that Obi-Wan cannot yet understand. The tunnels twist and wind through the rock, leading him ever deeper into the planet. He passes abandoned mining equipment and collapsed support structures, evidence of the industrial activity that once dominated this world. Now it is silent. The only sounds his footsteps and the distant drip of water through stone. He finds Grievous in a vast cavern near the planet's core. But what he finds is something unexpected. Grievous is not preparing to flee or to fight a defensive action. He is waiting. Sitting on a stone outcropping with his lightsabers laid out before him, the general seems almost at peace. Kenobi. Grievous greets him as the Jedi approaches through the tunnels. I was wondering when you would arrive. You seem to have been expecting me. Of course. The Force whispers many things to me now. It told me you were coming. It also told me that today is a day of reckoning. Not just for us, but for the entire galaxy. Obi-Wan ignites his lightsaber, his stance wary. The blue blade casts long shadows across the cavern walls. If you are expecting reinforcements, they will not arrive in time. The Republic fleet has the system blockaded. I am not expecting reinforcements. I am expecting clarity. Grievous rises to his feet, but does not immediately ignite his weapons. You see, I have spent months wondering who my true enemies are. The Jedi, obviously, but also those who claim to be my allies. Those who whisper one thing while plotting another. What are you talking about? Grievous laughs, that horrible mechanical rattle that has become so familiar across the galaxy. Your war, Kenobi. This entire conflict. It is a sham, a manipulation orchestrated by forces that benefit regardless of which side wins. I was meant to be a pawn in that game, a weapon to be used and then discarded when no longer convenient. Obi-Wan's eyes narrow. You are speaking of Dooku? Of the Sith Lord who trained you? I am speaking of the one who controls Dooku. The one who controls everything. The true enemy that neither the Republic nor the Separatists realize they serve. Obi-Wan feels a chill run down his spine. This is more than Grievous's usual mad ranting. There is something genuine in his words, a truth that resonates uncomfortably with things Obi-Wan himself has sensed but never fully understood. The war that never quite ends. The emergency powers that keep expanding. The way every crisis seems designed to erode the foundations of democracy. You know something, Obi-Wan says slowly. Something about the Sith. Something about this war. I know that if I am to survive, I must cut out the cancer at its source. Not the Republic, not even the Jedi, as much as I hate your kind. The one who pulls the strings from the shadows. And why tell me this? Because I want you to know that what happens next is not personal. It is survival. Grievous ignites all 4 of his lightsabers, the weapons humming to life with lethal purpose. And perhaps, if you survive as well, you might consider who your true enemies are. Before Obi-Wan can respond, Grievous attacks. But this is not the uncontrolled aggression of their previous encounters. There is something calculated about his movements now. Something almost ritualistic. He fights with all his power, force and lightsabers combined. But Obi-Wan senses that the general is holding something back. Not strength, exactly, but purpose. It is as if this duel is a means to an end, rather than the end itself. Their battle carries them through the tunnels and caverns of Utapau, leaving destruction in their wake. Ancient mining equipment is torn apart by the fury of their combat. Stone columns crack and crumble as force blasts ricochet off the walls. The very ground trembles beneath their feet as they trade blows with devastating intensity. Obi-Wan fights with all the skill he has developed over decades of training in combat. His Sorasu form is near perfect, creating an impenetrable defense that Grievous struggles to breach. Every time the general thinks he has found an opening, Obi-Wan's blade is there to intercept. Every force attack is countered or deflected. The Jedi Master has learned from their previous encounter, and he will not be caught off guard again. Grievous adapts as well, shifting his tactics as the battle progresses. He uses his 4 lightsabers to create pressure from multiple angles, forcing Obi-Wan to defend in ways that no single-bladed opponent could demand. His force attacks come in unpredictable bursts, interspersed with the physical assault to throw off Obi-Wan's rhythm. The dark side crackles around him, enhancing his already formidable combat capabilities. They fight through a massive pumping station, their blades slicing through pipes and conduits. Water sprays into the air, hissing to steam where it contacts the energy weapons. Grievous uses the Force to hurl chunks of machinery at Obi-Wan, who cuts them apart or deflects them with his own telekinetic abilities. The noise is deafening. The clash of lightsabers mixing with the screech of tearing metal and the roar of escaping fluids. "You could join me," Grievous says as they cross blades, his vocabulary straining over the noise. "We could destroy the true enemy together, as if I would trust a murderer and a monster. Perhaps not. But consider this. The monster you see before you was created by those who claim to stand for justice. The Jedi who destroyed my people. The Republic that allowed it to happen. The manipulators who turned my pain into a weapon. Their blades lock, pushing against each other with tremendous force." Obi-Wan stares into those reptilian eyes and sees something he did not expect. Sincerity. Grievous genuinely believes what he is saying. He has convinced himself that his warning justifies everything he has done. "I am sorry for what was done to your people," Obi-Wan says. "Truly. But your response to that tragedy does not excuse the atrocities you have committed. The Jedi you have murdered. The worlds you have terrorized. Those choices were yours, Grievous. Not the Republic's. Not the Sith's. Yours." Grievous snarls and breaks the lock, spinning away and launching a fresh assault. His attacks become more aggressive, more desperate. Obi-Wan senses the conflict within him, the war between his desire to survive and the hatred that has defined his existence for so long. They emerge onto a narrow bridge spanning a vast chasm. Far below, machinery grinds and churns, processing the minerals that flow through Utapau's underground rivers. The bridge offers no cover, no room to maneuver. This is where the duel will be decided. Obi-Wan defends masterfully, weathering Grievous's assault while looking for the opening he knows must come. The general is powerful, but his rage makes him predictable. Each attack follows from the same well of hatred, the same burning need to destroy everything the Jedi represent. That hatred is a weakness, a blind spot that a patient fighter can exploit. When the opening comes, Obi-Wan strikes. His blade finds the gap in Grievous's chest plates, piercing the organic sac that contains his vital organs. It is not a killing blow, but it is devastating. Sparks fly as systems fail. Grievous staggers backward, his lightsabers clattering to the bridge as his grip fails. But as he collapses, he looks up at Obi-Wan with something that might almost be satisfaction. There is no fear in his eyes, no anger, only a strange peace, as if he has finally found what he was looking for. Remember what I told you? He gasps, his vocabulary glitching and crackling. The true enemy hides in plain sight. On Coruscant, in the heart of your precious republic. He reaches into a compartment on his chest and withdraws a data chip, pressing it into Obi-Wan's hand with the last of his strength. Proof. Find the truth, Jedi, before it finds you. And then General Grievous, Supreme Commander of the Separatist droid armies, the monster who terrorized a galaxy, is dead. His mechanical body slumps against the bridge, the lights in his eyes fading to darkness. Whatever spark of life remained in his organic core has finally been extinguished. But his final words haunt Obi-Wan as he stares at the data chip in his hand. What truth has Grievous uncovered? What secret was worth more to him than his own survival? And what does it mean that the most feared enemy of the Jedi Order used his dying breath to warn them of a greater threat? On Coruscant, Darth Sidious feels the disturbance in the Force. Grievous is dead, killed by Kenobi on Utapau. This should be a moment of triumph, the elimination of a potential rival who had grown too ambitious for his own good. But something is wrong. Through his connection to the dark side, Sidious senses that Grievous did not die empty-handed. He passed something to Kenobi, something that the Jedi is even now examining with growing horror. This is unexpected. Grievous was many things, but a traitor to his own survival instincts was not one of them. He would not have sacrificed himself without purpose. Whatever he gave Kenobi must have been important enough to die for. Sidious reaches out through the Force, trying to discern what information Grievous might have uncovered. But the dark side offers only fragmentary glimpses, suggestions of danger without clarity. He will need to accelerate his plans. If Grievous has somehow exposed his identity, if the Jedi are even now learning the truth, then Order 66 must be executed immediately. There can be no delay. But Obi-Wan is already in motion. The data chip contains financial records, communications intercepts, surveillance footage spanning years. And at the center of it all, a name that makes Obi-Wan's blood run cold. Palpatine. Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith Lord. The revelation hits like a physical blow. Palpatine, who has guided the Republic through the crisis. Palpatine, who has been Anakin's mentor and friend. Palpatine, who has been playing both sides of the war from the very beginning. Obi-Wan's hands shake as he realizes the full scope of the deception. Everything makes sense now. The war that never quite ends. The emergency powers that grow with each crisis. The way the Jedi have been systematically weakened and spread thin across the galaxy. It was all designed, all orchestrated by the very man they trusted to lead them. He must warn the Council. He must warn Anakin. But even as he moves to contact Coruscant, he knows that Palpatine will have anticipated this. The Sith Lord has had years to prepare for the moment when his identity might be exposed. Whatever response Obi-Wan can mount, it may already be too late. The final act begins with fire and betrayal. Palpatine, sensing that his secret is compromised, moves with decisive brutality. Order 66 is transmitted to every clone unit in the galaxy, the coded signal activating the inhibitor chips that have lain dormant in their minds since their creation. Across 1,000 battlefields, Jedi who have fought alongside their troops for years are cut down without warning. The clones show no hesitation, no remorse. They execute their orders with the same efficiency they bring to every military operation. On Maigito, Ki-Adi-Mundi falls beneath the blaster fire of soldiers he trusted with his life. On Felucia, Aayla Secura is gunned down in a jungle clearing, her body left to rot among the alien plants. On Kashyyyk, Yoda senses the treachery just in time, escaping with the help of loyal Wookiee warriors. On Cato Neimoidia, Plo Koon's starfighter is shot down by his own wingmen. The temple on Coruscant comes under assault, attacked by the very soldiers sworn to protect the Republic. Clone battalions storm the sacred halls, their weapons blazing. Young Jedi Knights and Padawans fight back with desperate courage, but they are outnumbered and outgunned. Many fall defending the younglings in their care, buying precious minutes for others to escape. Mace Windu leads a desperate strike against Palpatine's office, having received Obi-Wan's warning just moments before the attack began. He moves with a team of the Order's finest warriors, Agen Kolar, Saisi Teen, and Kit Fisto. Their mission is clear: arrest Palpatine if possible, kill him if necessary. But Palpatine is ready for them. The moment they enter his office, he springs into action. A red lightsaber ignites in his hands, and he attacks with a speed and ferocity that catches even these experienced Jedi off guard. Agen Kolar falls in the first second, cut down before he can even raise his weapon. Saisi Teen lasts only a moment longer, his defense shattered by the sheer intensity of Palpatine's assault. Kit Fisto puts up a better fight, his mastery of Shi-Cho allowing him to adapt to Palpatine's unpredictable attack pattern. But even he cannot last long against a fully unleashed Sith Lord. Palpatine's blade slips past his guard and ends his life with a single precise thrust. Only Mace Windu remains. The two warriors face each other across the ruined office, their blades humming with lethal intent. Palpatine smiles, a grotesque expression on his twisted features. "You are the last of them, Master Windu. The last obstacle between me and total control." Windu's grip tightens on his lightsaber. The Force flows through him, strong and clear despite the chaos engulfing the galaxy. He is the champion of the Jedi Order, the greatest swordsman of his generation. If anyone can stop this monster, it is him. Their duel is legendary, even by the standards of battles fought between Force users. Windu's Vapad form feeds on Palpatine's dark side energy, channeling it back against him with devastating effect. The office is destroyed in the first minute, furniture and fixtures swept away by the violence of their combat. They fight out onto the landing platform, their blades throwing sparks into the night sky. For a time, it seems like Windu might actually win. His blade finds Palpatine's defense again and again, driving the Sith Lord back toward the edge of the platform. The Chancellor's face contorts with frustration as he fails to break through Windu's guard. But something is different this time. Grievous's revelation has changed the calculus of events. Anakin Skywalker arrives at Palpatine's office not as a potential ally of the Sith, but as a Jedi who knows the truth about his supposed friend. He has seen the evidence. He has felt the truth of it resonate through the Force. The man he trusted, the mentor who seemed to understand him better than the Jedi ever did, has been manipulating him from the very beginning. "Anakin," Palpatine says, his voice dripping with false warmth even as lightning crackles around his fingers. "I knew you would come. The Jedi have poisoned your mind against me. But surely you can see the truth. Everything I have done for you. For the galaxy. To bring order out of chaos." Anakin's lightsaber ignites, the blue blade casting harsh shadows across his face. His expression is cold, harder than Palpatine has ever seen it. The conflict that the Sith Lord has cultivated for years, the attachment and fear that should make Anakin susceptible to manipulation, is absent. In its place is clarity. "You murdered my friends. You started this war. You used me as a pawn in your game. Whatever justifications you have, I don't want to hear them." The battle that follows shakes the foundations of the Senate building. Palpatine fights with all the power at his command, decades of dark side mastery unleashed against the Chosen One of Jedi prophecy. His lightning fills the air, his lightsaber moves faster than the eye can follow. The Force itself seems to bend around him, warped by the intensity of his rage. But Anakin fights with something even more powerful, righteous fury tempered by absolute clarity. For the first time in his life, he sees his path clearly, not as a Jedi bound by rules he never fully accepted, not as a Sith seduced by promises of power, but as himself, Anakin Skywalker, fighting to protect everything he loves from the monster who threatened it all. His blade meets Palpatine's with tremendous force, driving the Sith Lord back. When lightning comes, Anakin catches it on his lightsaber and redirects it into the walls. When telekinetic attacks try to hurl him aside, he anchors himself in the Force and pushes back. Every trick Palpatine has learned over decades of study breaks against the rock of Anakin's determination. When Mace Windu rejoins the fight, wounded but determined, the tide turns decisively. Together, they corner Palpatine, their blades forming an inescapable cage of light. The Sith Lord finds himself backed against a shattered window, the lights of Coruscant glittering far below. "You cannot stop what I have set in motion," Palpatine hisses, his face contorted with hatred. "Order 66 has been transmitted. Your precious order is dying even as we speak. Then we will rebuild." Mace responds, his voice steady despite his injuries. "But you will not live to see it." The killing blow comes from Anakin. It feels right somehow, that the one Palpatine tried so hard to corrupt should be the one to end him. The blue blade plunges through the Sith Lord's chest, piercing his heart. Palpatine's eyes widen in shock, unable to comprehend that his grand plan has failed at the final moment. "No," he whispers. "This is not possible." His body crumples to the floor, his reign of terror concluded before it truly began. The dark side presence that has clouded the Force for so long begins to dissipate, its source finally destroyed. But there is no time for celebration. The clone troopers throughout the galaxy are still executing Order 66. The Jedi are still dying. The Republic itself is teetering on the brink of collapse. Every moment spent in Palpatine's ruined office is a moment that could be used to save lives. Anakin moves immediately to the communications console, using his knowledge of military systems to broadcast an emergency signal on all Republic frequencies. This is Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker. The Supreme Chancellor has been exposed as a Sith Lord and has been eliminated. Order 66 is a programmed command implanted in clone troopers without their knowledge or consent. All Jedi are ordered to defend themselves by any means necessary. All clone commanders are ordered to stand down and submit to medical evaluation. The message goes out across the galaxy, but it is only the first step. The inhibitor chips that control the clones are deeply embedded in their neural architecture. Simply ordering them to stop will not be enough. Obi-Wan's evidence includes technical specifications for the chips, information that Grievous somehow obtained from Separatist intelligence. This data is transmitted to Republic medical facilities, where teams of surgeons and engineers begin working on a way to safely deactivate the programming. The aftermath is chaos, but it is a chaos that can be shaped. Obi-Wan, having survived the initial purge by defeating his own troops in combat, leads the effort to countermand Order 66. He travels from system to system, working with local commanders to identify and neutralize the threat. The evidence from Grievous's data chip proves instrumental, demonstrating that the clones have been compromised and providing the technical specifications needed to disable their inhibitor chips. It is a race against time. On some worlds, the chips can be deactivated before too much damage is done. Jedi and clones who moments before were trying to kill each other find themselves standing in confusion, the clones horrified by what they have done. On other worlds, the deactivation comes too late. Jedi masters who have served the Republic for decades lie dead, their bodies left where they fell. The final count is devastating. Nearly half of the Jedi Order has been killed in the initial assault and its immediate aftermath. Ancient temples and training facilities have been damaged or destroyed. The trust between Jedi and the military they have led throughout the Clone Wars is shattered, perhaps irreparably. But the Order survives. Jedi survivors emerge from hiding, shell-shocked but alive. They gather at what remains of the temple on Coruscant, coming together to mourn their fallen and begin the long process of rebuilding. Clone troopers wake from their programming as if from a nightmare, horrified by what they have done. Many cannot live with the memories and take their own lives. Others dedicate themselves to making amends, working tirelessly to repair the damage they caused. The Republic that emerges from this crucible is wounded but not broken. Bail Organa takes the lead in reforming the government, working with Padme Amidala and other progressive senators to implement safeguards against the concentration of power that allowed Palpatine to rise. Emergency powers are abolished. The military is restructured to prevent any future leader from using it as a personal weapon. Term limits and transparency requirements are written into the Constitution. The Jedi Order, decimated but not destroyed, begins its own process of reformation. They have learned hard lessons about attachment to political power and the dangers of becoming too intertwined with military operations. The survivors gather in the ruins of the temple, led by Yoda and the handful of council members who remain, and commit themselves to a new path. We failed, Yoda admits, his ancient voice heavy with grief. Blinded by our own arrogance, we were, so certain of our righteousness that we could not see the darkness growing in our midst. Then we learn from our failure, Obi-Wan responds. We become something better, something worthy of the trust the galaxy places in us. In time, a new generation of Jedi will rise, trained with a deeper understanding of the Force and a humility that their predecessors lacked. The new order will be smaller, more focused on meditation and wisdom than combat and politics. They will serve as guardians of peace and justice, but they will not become entangled in the workings of government. They will counsel and advise, but they will not command armies or sit in judgment of political disputes. Anakin becomes a central figure in this new order, not as a chosen one placed on a pedestal, but as a teacher and guide who has experienced both the temptations of darkness and the path back to light. His journey gives him unique insight into the struggles that young Jedi face, the conflicts between duty and attachment that can lead even the most promising students astray. He takes on students of his own, training them not just in the ways of the Force, but in the wisdom he has gained through experience. He teaches them about the dangers of arrogance and the importance of questioning authority, even when that authority claims to serve the light. He shows them that emotions are not the enemy, that love and attachment can be sources of strength if properly understood and channeled. His marriage to Padme is eventually accepted, one of many reforms that acknowledge the limitations of the old order's doctrines. It is not an easy transition. Some of the surviving masters argue that attachment remains dangerous, that the old rules existed for good reason. But Anakin's example proves that a Jedi can love without losing themselves to the dark side. His bond with Padme gives him strength and stability, grounding him in a way that the old order's teachings never could. Their children, Luke and Leia, grow up in a galaxy at peace, trained in the Force by parents who understand its complexities. Luke shows tremendous aptitude for the mystical aspects of the Force, spending hours in meditation and study. Leia is more drawn to action and leadership, her Force sensitivity enhancing her natural talents for diplomacy and politics. Together, they represent the best of what their parents hoped for, a new generation untainted by the failures of the past. The Skywalker family becomes a symbol of hope for the galaxy. People see in them the possibility of redemption, the proof that even those touched by darkness can find their way back to the light. Anakin never hides his past, never pretends that he was not tempted by Palpatine's offers of power. He uses his story as a teaching tool, showing students how close anyone can come to falling and how important it is to remain vigilant against the seductions of the dark side. And what of Grievous? He dies a villain, but his final act saves the galaxy from a far greater evil. Some historians will argue that he deserves recognition for this, that his warning should redeem at least part of his legacy. Others maintain that no amount of deathbed repentance can erase the crimes he committed, the Jedi he murdered, the worlds he ravaged. The debate continues for generations, never fully resolved. Perhaps both perspectives contain truth. Grievous was a monster, there is no denying that. He killed without mercy, terrorized without remorse, and delighted in the suffering of his enemies. The list of his victims runs into the hundreds, including some of the most promising Jedi of their generation. Worlds still bear the scars of his campaigns. Families still mourn those who fell to his blades. But he was a monster who saw, clearly in the end, the even greater monster lurking behind the curtain. And in that moment of clarity, he chose to share what he knew rather than let the galaxy burn. He could have died with his secrets, taking satisfaction in the knowledge that Palpatine would destroy everything the Jedi held dear. Instead, he chose to give Obi-Wan the tools to fight back. He chose truth over revenge. It is not redemption, exactly. Nothing can undo the harm he caused or bring back those he killed. But it might be the closest thing to grace that a creature like Grievous could ever achieve. In his final moments, some spark of his original self, the Kaleesh warlord who once fought to protect his people, reasserted itself. He remembered what it meant to serve a cause greater than his own hatred. The galaxy remembers him in complicated ways. On some worlds, his name is synonymous with terror. Parents frighten their children with stories of the cyborg general who would come for them if they misbehaved. Survivors of his attacks refuse to speak his name, as if the very word might summon him back from death. On other worlds, particularly those that suffered under Republic neglect or Jedi indifference, he is viewed more sympathetically. They remember that the same institutions Grievous fought against had failed them as well. They understand, even if they do not excuse, the rage that drove him. Some even honor him as a freedom fighter, a warrior who stood against the hypocrisy of the powerful. And on Kaylee, his homeworld, his memory is more complicated still. The Kaleesh remember him as a hero who defended them in their darkest hour, but also as a leader who abandoned them to pursue his vendetta against the Jedi. His transformation into a cyborg is viewed as both a tragedy and a betrayal. The death of the warrior they loved and the birth of something they could not recognize. The galaxy moves forward, scarred but healing. The Clone Wars end not with the rise of an empire, but with the painful birth of something better. The Jedi Order survives, reformed and renewed. The Republic endures, chastened but intact. And the story of how a Force-sensitive cyborg nearly brought civilization to its knees becomes a cautionary tale, told to younglings as a reminder that power without wisdom leads only to destruction. But there is another lesson in Grievous's story, one that is perhaps more important. Even the darkest of beings can find clarity in their final moments. Even the most corrupted of souls can choose to do one right thing. And sometimes, that one right thing is enough to change the course of history. The memorial on Coruscant lists the names of every Jedi who fell during the conflict. There are hundreds, a testament to the war's terrible cost. But alongside those names, there is a small plaque that few visitors ever notice. It reads simply, "To those who found light in darkness and shared it before the end." It is not meant to honor Grievous specifically, but those who know the full story of how the Sith plot was exposed understand what it means. In the end, the monster who terrorized a galaxy helped save it, not through strength or conquest, but through a simple act of truth-telling. It is a reminder that the universe works in mysterious ways, and that judgment should perhaps be tempered by humility. Because none of us truly know what we are capable of until we face our final moment. And none of us can predict whether we will find the courage to do what is right. As the years pass and the stories of the Clone Wars fade into legend, the galaxy learns to live in peace. The separatist worlds are reintegrated into the Republic through negotiation rather than conquest. The clone soldiers, freed from their programming, are given the choice to continue serving or to build new lives as civilians. Many choose the latter, founding communities across the Outer Rim where they can finally discover who they are beyond their military conditioning. The droids that once served the Confederacy are reprogrammed for civilian purposes, their weapons of war becoming tools of construction and healing. Anakin Skywalker stands at the window of the Jedi Temple, watching the sun set over the Coruscant skyline. He is older now, lines of experience carved into his face, his hair touched with gray. But there is a peace in his eyes that was absent in his younger days. Behind him, he can hear the laughter of younglings at play, the next generation of Jedi learning the ways of the Force. Padme joins him at the window, her hand finding his. She too has aged, though gracefully, her political career having transitioned from senator to one of the architects of the new Republic's Constitution. "What are you thinking about?" she asks softly. "Grievous," he admits. "Strange, isn't it? After all these years, I still think about him sometimes. He gave me nightmares when I was young, and then he saved us all. He wasn't a good being," Padme observes. "The things he did, the people he killed, nothing can erase that, no. But in the end, he made a choice. He could have died with his secrets. He could have let Palpatine's plan succeed out of spite or indifference. Instead, he chose to warn us, to give us a chance. You think it matters? That it makes a difference somehow?" Anakin is quiet for a long moment before responding. "I think it matters that the choice was possible at all. That even someone as far gone as Grievous could find a moment of clarity at the end. It means none of us are beyond redemption. Not truly. Not as long as we draw breath." "It's a comforting thought," Padme agrees, "though I prefer to think that most of us won't need a deathbed revelation to find our better selves." Anakin laughs softly and pulls her close. "Fair enough. But the reminder doesn't hurt. Any of us could lose our way. The important thing is remembering that we can always find our way back." Across the galaxy, others grapple with similar questions. The former separatist worlds, once enemies of everything the Republic stood for, now work alongside their former adversaries toward common goals. It has not been easy. Wounds this deep take generations to heal. But the healing has begun, and that is more than anyone could have hoped for in the darkest days of the war. On Kaylee, the homeworld of General Grievous, a memorial stands in the capital city. It is not a monument to Grievous himself, whom many of his people remember with complicated emotions. He brought them glory and then abandoned them. He became a monster who represented everything the Kaleesh were taught to despise. But the memorial acknowledges the role their most infamous son played in ending the Sith threat. It reads, "From destruction, salvation. From darkness, a path to light. May those who follow learn from our failures." The Kaleesh have their own debates about how to remember Grievous. Some see him as a tragic figure, a great warrior corrupted by those who sought to use him. Others maintain that he was always a brutal killer, that his final act of defiance does not redeem a lifetime of atrocities. Still others argue that both things can be true simultaneously, that beings are complex and cannot be reduced to simple categories of good or evil. Perhaps that is the most important lesson of all. The Clone Wars were not a simple story of heroes and villains, light and dark. They were a tangled web of motivations and manipulations, of individuals making choices for reasons they sometimes did not fully understand themselves. Palpatine was evil, certainly, but even his evil was shaped by the circumstances that made him who he was. Dooku believed he was serving a higher purpose, even as he descended deeper into darkness. And Grievous, for all his crimes, retained enough of his original self to recognize a greater evil when he saw it. The Jedi Order learns from this. Their new teachings emphasize understanding and compassion, even toward enemies. They do not excuse evil, but they try to understand its origins. They recognize that the dark side is not a force separate from themselves, but a potential that exists within every being. By acknowledging this truth, they hope to become better guardians of peace and justice than their predecessors ever were. Master Yoda, in his final years before becoming one with the Force, speaks often about the lessons of the Clone Wars. "Failed, we did," he admits to young students gathered around him. "Blind to the darkness growing in our midst, we were. Too confident in our own righteousness, we had become. But learn from failure, we must. Grow stronger through our mistakes, we can. Remember the past, you must. But imprisoned by it, you must not be. When Yoda passes, the entire galaxy mourns. He is remembered as one of the greatest Jedi who ever lived, not despite his failures, but in part because of them. He had the wisdom to acknowledge where he went wrong and the humility to change. In this way, he set an example for everyone who came after. Obi-Wan Kenobi lives long enough to see the New Order flourish. He trains many students, but his most famous pupil remains Anakin Skywalker, the man who might have been the galaxy's greatest villain, but instead became one of its greatest heroes. Their friendship endures through the decades, tempered by shared experience and mutual respect. When they spar in the practice halls of the temple, students gather to watch, marveling at the interplay of their lightsaber forms. "Master Kenobi," a young Twi'lek asks one day, "is it true that you fought General Grievous alone on Utapau? That you defeated him in single combat?" Obi-Wan smiles, his beard now as white as winter snow. "I fought him, yes. But I'm not sure defeated is the right word. He allowed me to win. He had something he needed to tell me, and dying was the price he was willing to pay." The students look confused. Why would anyone choose to die just to deliver a message? Because sometimes the message is more important than the messenger. Grievous had spent his whole life pursuing power. In the end, he realized that truth was more valuable. It was perhaps the only selfless act he ever committed. But it mattered. It mattered more than any of his victories or conquests. The students ponder this, trying to reconcile the image of the terrifying cyborg general with the idea of noble sacrifice. It is a difficult concept, but that is precisely why it needs to be taught. The galaxy is not simple, and those who would protect it must understand its complexities. The twins, Luke and Leia, grow up hearing these stories. They know about the Clone Wars, about Palpatine's treachery, about the father who almost fell to darkness, and the mother who helped pull him back. They understand that their family's legacy is complicated, marked by both great heroism and the potential for great evil. This understanding shapes them, makes them wiser and more careful than they might otherwise have been. Luke becomes a Jedi, trained by his father in the ways of the Force. He is powerful, perhaps even more powerful than Anakin was at his age. But he wields that power with humility and compassion. He understands that strength without wisdom is merely destruction, and he works tirelessly to embody the ideals of the Reformed Order. Leia follows her mother into politics, becoming one of the youngest senators in Republic history. She has the Force too, though she chooses not to develop it as fully as her brother. Her strength lies elsewhere, in diplomacy and leadership, in the ability to bring people together and find common ground. Together, they represent the best of what their parents hoped for. A new generation untainted by the failures of the past. The galaxy enters an era of unprecedented peace. There are still conflicts, still challenges to be faced, but nothing approaching the existential threat of the Clone Wars. The Separatist crisis is remembered as a cautionary tale, a reminder of how quickly civilization can unravel when fear and division are allowed to fester. And at the center of that tale is always the figure of General Grievous, the monster who became an unexpected messenger of salvation. Scholars debate his legacy for centuries. Was he a villain who happened to do one good thing at the end? A tragic hero twisted by circumstances beyond his control? An exemplar of how even the darkest souls retain some spark of light? The answer depends on who you ask. But the question itself is valuable, forcing people to think about morality in shades of gray rather than stark black and white. What if Grievous had never been Force sensitive? What if Dooku had never trained him in the dark side? The galaxy might have played out very differently. Perhaps Palpatine's plan would have succeeded. Perhaps the Empire would have risen and the Jedi would have been exterminated. Perhaps Anakin would have become Darth Vader, the Dark Lord of Palpatine's nightmares given form. The thought is terrifying to contemplate. Without Grievous's warning, Obi-Wan would never have received the evidence of Palpatine's true identity. Order 66 would have caught the Jedi completely by surprise, with no opportunity to defend themselves or countermand the programming. Anakin, isolated from his friends and manipulated by the Chancellor, would have been vulnerable to the seductions Palpatine had prepared for him. The promise of saving Padme, the appeal to his resentment of the Jedi Council, the offer of power beyond anything he had ever known. In that alternate timeline, darkness would have fallen across the galaxy. The Republic would have been transformed into an empire, its democratic institutions dissolved in the name of security and order. The Jedi would have been hunted to extinction, their temples burned and their teachings forbidden. Billions would have lived in fear of the Emperor's wrath, their lives subject to his every whim. But Grievous did develop Force sensitivity. He did receive training, and he did, in the end, choose to share what he knew with those who could stop the greater evil. One different choice, leading to another, until the entire course of history was altered. The ripples spread outward from that single moment in the caverns of Utapau, reshaping the destiny of every being in the galaxy. This is the lesson the galaxy takes from the Clone Wars era. Every choice matters. Every decision, no matter how small, can ripple outward in ways that cannot be predicted. The dark side would have us believe that fate is fixed, that power alone determines outcomes. But the Force teaches otherwise. It teaches that individuals have agency, that the future is always in motion, and that even the smallest act of courage can change everything. The Jedi incorporate this lesson into their new teachings. They tell their students about Grievous, not as a cautionary tale of evil, but as an example of the complexity of the Force. Even the darkest of beings can find clarity in their final moments. Even the most corrupted of souls can choose to do one right thing. And sometimes, that one right thing is enough to change the course of history. It is a lesson in humility as well. The old Jedi Order had grown arrogant, certain of its ability to see and understand the Force. But Grievous's existence proved that the Force worked in ways they could not predict or comprehend. His awakening, his training, his final act of defiance against his masters, all of it lay outside the patterns the Jedi thought they understood. The Force had used a monster to save the galaxy from an even greater monster. If that was possible, then anything was possible. General Grievous would not have understood this lesson in his prime. He believed in power and vengeance, in crushing his enemies and glorifying his own strength. Every victory was a validation of his philosophy. Every fallen Jedi proof that might makes right. He collected lightsabers not just as trophies, but as symbols of his dominance over those who had wronged him. But at the end, facing his own mortality in the darkness of Utapau's caves, he saw something he had never seen before. He saw that his entire life of conquest had been in service to a manipulation he could not even comprehend. He saw that the power he craved had made him nothing more than a tool, used and discarded by beings who cared nothing for his goals or his pain. He saw that Dooku had betrayed him, that Sidious had tried to destroy him, that everything he believed in was a lie. And in that moment of terrible clarity, he chose to be something more. Not a hero, certainly, not redeemed, but something other than the monster he had been. He chose to do one good thing, one act that served someone other than himself. He chose truth over silence, warning over spite. It was not enough to balance the scales of his crimes. Nothing could ever be enough for that. But it was something. A single point of light in an otherwise dark existence. And in the strange mathematics of the Force, sometimes a single point of light is enough to illuminate everything. The sun rises over Coruscant, as it has for millions of years. The city stretches out in all directions, a testament to what civilization can achieve when beings work together. The Jedi Temple stands tall at the heart of it all, its spires reaching toward the sky. Inside, younglings learn the ways of the Force. Knights go about their duties, serving as guardians of peace and justice. Masters meditate, seeking wisdom in the currents of the cosmic energy that binds all things together. And somewhere in the archives, a historian carefully preserves a data chip. It is old now, the technology dated, but the information it contains is still legible. Financial records, communications intercepts, surveillance footage, proof of a conspiracy that nearly destroyed everything, a gift from an unlikely source, delivered at an impossible price. The historian handles it with reverence, knowing what it represents. Not just evidence of past crimes, but a reminder of how close the galaxy came to falling into eternal darkness. And a reminder, too, of the strange mercy of the Force, which can find heroes in the most unlikely places. General Grievous was a monster. There is no escaping that truth. But even monsters are part of the great tapestry of existence. And sometimes, just sometimes, they find within themselves the capacity to do something that matters. The galaxy remembers. The galaxy learns. The galaxy moves forward always forward, toward a future that none can predict but all can shape. And in that future, the lessons of the past are not forgotten. They are woven into the fabric of everything that follows, guiding generations yet unborn toward the light. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.